Shady Race, eyewear that has your back.
First of 2 practice sessions ready to begin here in Mexico City. 50 minutes is what we'll put on the board. Let's hear from some of our pit reporters. And we start talking about the hometown guy, Daniel Suarez. Here's Trevor Bay.
As you can imagine, Adam, this is such a huge homecoming weekend for Daniel Suarez. The last time he was here at this facility was 2014. He won the race here in the Mexico NASCAR Series. That was on the oval, though. He left shortly after that to pursue his career in NASCAR in the United States. He cannot believe he's getting the opportunity to come back here to his home country to race for a NASCAR Cup Series win. He said he's been a top 5 car every road course, and he expects no less this weekend. Kim?
Well, Trevor, it's been a week of recovery for Alex Bowman. After last weekend in Michigan, he took a very hard hit. In fact, at the Care Center last weekend, he told us it was one of the hardest hits he's ever taken in his career. Now, he did tell me this morning when I checked in with him, he has all the resources at his disposal over at Hendrick to make sure he is healthy for this weekend's race. He's been cleared to race. In fact, he did the track walk earlier today. The goal is to get a lot of laps, though, because of that significant back pain he had. In fact, could not do any of that sim work. They want to see what the pain threshold is during these laps, and we have Anthony Alfredo, NASCAR Xfinity Series driver, on standby back at the 48 hauler in case Alex needs to get out. But the goal, Marty, is for him to run this entire practice.
Kim, congratulations to Denny Hamlin and his fiancee Jordan Fish on the birth of their son on Wednesday. And because he wanted to welcome his son home, Denny Hamlin has decided to skip the Mexico race here on the streets at Mexico City. And so now he is going to have Ryan Truex in the 11 car this weekend. Hamlin did apply for and was granted a waiver by NASCAR, so he'll keep all of his playoff points. So Ryan Truex in the 11 this weekend, and they had to make several changes. Of course, the team was completely prepared for him to be in the car the last 3 weeks, but they did not bring Truex's seat here to Mexico City, so they had to work on the seat a little bit. Also, Hamlin does not normally run at short tracks and road courses a rear view camera. Ryan Truex wanted a rear view camera, so they got that installed this morning as well. So we'll see how Ryan Truex does in the 11 car after winning the race last weekend at Michigan.
Watching Ryan Truex on board. The roof going down into turn 1, hearing the downshift, the braking zone heavy into turn 1. Should see a ton of crazy 3, 4, 5 wide passing going into that braking zone. Carrying that right front tire a little bit, coming out of turn 3 down this front straight or down this straightaway, headed toward turn 4. I'll be interested if anybody can put together a run to challenge someone into this braking zone. This is a bit of a fast sweeper, so the braking isn't really, it's not a real like hard braking zone. You slow the car down a little bit, but being able to get to the inside and actually make a pass there might be tough. And you see right there, as the cars go through the S's, we're going to talk about this a lot today, guys. There'll be some yellow stripes off course a little bit through those turns. That is the only area on the racetrack where there are track limits. The tire barriers will do their job to try to keep the race car drivers on the track through the rest of the course.
Heading into what I think is going to be the best seats in the house right here into the stadium. This left-hander, Dale, you said it on the track map, slowest and the lowest RPM. Yep. So they are crawling right there. And I think that lack of pace actually is going to give these fans a great show because it's going to encourage these drivers to lean on each other.
Yeah, and you see them able to use a lot of the racetrack, get wet kind of off of the curb a little bit to be able to put themselves in a great position to accelerate out of those final few corners. You got to get through those last few series of corners really good to put yourself in any position to do some passing right here in this braking zone into turn 1. That's going to be the main passing source for all of the teams. So if you're struggling coming through those final few corners, you got to work on that today.
9 of Chase Elliott driving around the 11 of Ryan Truex. Elliott, a driver that is always good on the road, but has not been near as good in the next gen car.
Got a couple of cars.
As he was driving in the old version of the stock car at NASCAR's top level, and 7 wins, his 3rd all time when you talk about road course victories in Cup.
Got a couple of cars backwards here in turn 4, and it's kind of what we talked about. I'm not sure exactly what happened there with Suarez, and let's take a look. John Hunter Nemechek, it looked like Suarez and John Hunter Nemechek maybe had an issue. So we're riding on board with Suarez. Oh, he's So Suarez got too far into that area right there. That part of the track has actually been shortened up from what we used to run here years ago. So the turnoff into turn 4 is a little bit earlier. I'm not sure he was quite ready for that, anticipating maybe going further into the old portion of the racetrack. So they used to go straight through there and a little bit further to another additional similar bend that you see right here. Now they've shortened this course up since we last ran here, maybe since Daniels ran here. This is exiting onto the front straightaway. I think it'll be a fun little part of the racetrack as they sweep really wide around pit entry. Maybe some drivers will be able to turn really low and get up underneath each other and race side by side down the front straightaway and argue for position.
4 downshifts, so down to first gear. That's kind of what we talk about learning the track. These are all the small details I'm excited to see, is just what gear they're running in each corner, how far they're downshifting, the runoff. So now he's heading back to that turn 4 where we saw him have that issue, the right-hander.
You know, his teammate, Ross Chastain, Daniel's teammate, Ross Chastain, said, I will find the track limits and I might spend some time off track in practice because I want to know just how far I can go as I figure out what kind of plan I need to put together for Sunday.
That's those yellow lines right there. You can get all the way up against those yellow lines before NASCAR is going to call an issue for a track limit there, and you see the 47 pushing the limit, going a little bit too far. I think you have to do that. I agree with that theory and that idea of really finding out how far you can really go into all the braking zones. That's where you're going to find the most time on any of these road course racetracks, is in that braking zone. So push the car beyond its limits.
And the good news here is that there are those opportunities to escape. You know, you go to Watkins Glen, some other tracks back in the day, they were gravel filled or grass or rumble strips. But here there is some runoff at the end of those braking zones, so there's no reason not to push them.
Let's get out to Marty.
Adam, day 1 at a new track for NASCAR, and of course there's going to be some learning curves here, and right now one of them are some technical issues going on with the race teams. So Steve, none of the teams have the use of SMT, so is that a bigger issue for you as a crew chief or your driver, Dale Jr.?
So SMT is basically, you know, just your car's location around the racetrack and your driver inputs, right? Throttle, brake, your gear positioning, a bunch of information. You know, it's a great question, Marty, because I would think as a driver, if you're pretty good, it's a bigger issue for the team because I want to try to make the car better. If you're way off, Dale, I would think having SMT, would you like to be able to kind of take a peek at what another driver is doing through a different section?
It's amazing for tracks like this, Marty, when we're coming to the, a road course, and especially a road course for the first time. Somebody's going to go out there and really adapt to this quickly. They're going to find things that maybe it might take you several trips to this racetrack to discover. And so if you can look at what other drivers are doing and know exactly, hey, I'm in the wrong gear in this corner, or I'm trying, or somebody's found a way to actually, shorten the course a little bit or trim a little bit here and there. That's a great opportunity for these drivers to really accelerate their learning curve over the next couple of days. We saw some drivers having some issues with the braking zones or pushing their cars a little bit too much. The 2-car of Austin Cindric has apparently found some limits as well to his car's ability. So we got a little replay of some challenges that he's ran into early in this race. And this is going into that same turn 4. So, all right. So this is already something we're going to identify as a very challenging part of the course. I would not have anticipated turn 4, the braking zone to turn 4, to be a problem. It looks like it's going to be an issue. Guys are having a hard time getting their cars slowed down. Maybe the braking performance or the balance of the brakes needs to be shifted for that particular corner. Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh, into the contact, yeah. Noah Gragson slaps the wall with the left rear. Pretty hard.
Yeah, it seemed like it was Haley. He got the backhand light, and then there was a checkup, and Noah just had to really get on the brakes heavier than he wanted.
Seems like something, he's already blew the left front tire out trying to get back to the pits. Probably locked that up earlier in the lap. My question, I guess, Steve, is I'm a bit surprised to see some of these guys so tail happy in the braking zone. That's the problem into turn 4. Starting to lock up rear brakes, getting into turn 4. We're also seeing it there into turn 11.
Well, so we talk about what's different here in Mexico City. The glaring thing is the elevation. We talk a lot about what it does to the driver. Well, remember, what it does to the car is reduce its aerodynamic effect. It has less drag. It goes through the air easier. It creates less power because the engine is kind of like you running at high elevation, right? Starved for oxygen. But it is making a traumatic amount less downforce. Even with this simple diffuser, we have lost 25% of the downforce. So that's really my question, Dale, right? I believe this is a downforce-driven thing because we haven't seen rear grip be an issue at all in braking in this car. They sail these things down into the corner like we can't believe at every other road course, but then all of a sudden, these cars are super uncomfortable braking. I equate it to the elevation of the downforce loss.
Well, that's going to make the 51 here. Cody is spun around right at the entrance to
all the way to the wall.
To pit road, so he needs to be careful not to pull out in front of people here. But so we're seeing issues in the braking zone of turn 4. We're seeing a little issue in the braking zone into turn 11. Cars maybe needing to shift their braking bias a little bit toward the front. At least we've seen drivers actually move that braking bias all the way around the lap, all race long, shifting that braking bias for what they need for each individual corner.
You see the damage to the 4 of Noah Gregson, his teammate. The 34 of Todd Gilliland also had a little bit of a moment right here. This is exiting the stadium. Whew. That'll get your attention right there. And then just loose.
Yeah.
Loose. Man, that thing is sideways.
I'll tell you what, though, you want a sleeper? I mean, Todd Gilliland's someone to watch.
Here's Ware and what happened to him. Yeah, it just gets. So this is awesome, man. I think this is good to see this track challenging the drivers. They're going to be fighting for grip. This is all on relatively good tires. Imagine what this is going to be like lap 30 on tires, how slick this racetrack's going to be.
And you mentioned tires. I love the fact that as they're learning the racetrack, they've actually leveled off. Fast laps are 3, 2, 3, 4, depending on the car, even though they've run 5 or 6 laps. So, Trevor, that tells me that this Goodyear tire, you know, it is starting to lose grip like we've seen at other road courses. I think it's going to make for an exciting race.
How about it, Trevor?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. We've seen a couple tire issues with the 4 car locking up the left front and then getting into the wall. But then we just saw a right rear go down on the 51 car. He's telling his crew he doesn't even know if he can make it back in. Tell the officials, see if he can get a tow in.
That is pretty heavy wheel damage.
I agree.
There.
You know, we were talking to Drew Blickensderfer, who is crew chief for Noah Gregson. He said, we've had speed. We just have been involved in some incidents and really have not been able to show off our capabilities. And one of his top 10 runs this year did come earlier this season at Circuit of the Americas. 51 has stopped. 37 minutes to go. Practice number 1, Briscoe, top of the board.